Are you looking to buy in the Perth market right now, but you're totally unsure about whether now's the right time or not, whether we're about to fall off a cliff or we're about to go through some huge price growth? Whereabouts are we in the market? Should you be sitting on the sidelines? Is it time to be jumping in now? Should you have jumped in 2 years ago? If you want to understand a little bit more about where we're at and what you should be doing, then watch this video to the very end and you'll have a very clear understanding of where the Perth market is at. Hi there, I'm Simon Atkins, your brand new apartment specialist right here in Perth. If you're looking to buy as an owner-occupier, investor, or you're moving from interstate or overseas and you're looking for a brand new apartment, I can help you out with that. All my details are in my description below. So Perth property prices continue to grow, albeit at a slower rate in 2025 than they did last year in 24. Last year did an explosive 24.2% increase over the last 12 months, or the calendar year 2024. The median house price went from 600,000 up to 745,000. So quite a huge jump there during the last calendar year. And this year, I won't talk about the median house price, what it is now. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But we are still continuing some pretty strong growth this year as well. So now that the election is over, more people are likely to do something, either nothing or they'll go out and buy a property, because now they know what the rules of the game are, they know who's got into power, and whatever they've been promising or not promising, they kind of know the lay of the land a little bit more now, so they can act probably with a little bit more confidence. And Labor's come out with the extension. Really, it's nothing new. It's the first home buyers being able to get in on a 5% deposit, where they underwrite the other 15%, which stops them from having to pay mortgage insurance. So there's nothing new there. That was just an extension of something that was already going on. So the large shortfall of brand new property will struggle as developers completing brand new stock struggle to make things stack up because of the enormous cost of construction now. But not only that, construction prices actually have tapered off a bit, I believe, but trades are very, very, very expensive as well. And the HIA came out with a report, which I'll just refer to here, and they've said that in the first quarter of 2025, they found Perth had the most acute shortage of trade skills in the country. So those types of things, even though, as I mentioned before in one or two of my other videos, we're in the growth cycle anyway, these kind of things are exacerbating. They're just putting gasoline onto the fire in terms of putting pressure on price growth. So most commentators are agreeing now that housing construction targets that the government's come up with are not going to be met anywhere, I don't think, in any state. So this is an Australia-wide problem. And again, as I say, this is all the kind of pressure that we have in the background, and nothing's going to fix these things overnight. These are long-term fixes. They require things to be put in place now, but they're not going to be solved in 3 or 6 months. So when you're thinking about the market, do consider where we are, Perth, in the cycle, in the property cycle, as well as what's going on in the background, these other issues that we have in terms of trying to get supply through. So the market's also pricing in a further rate drop, interest rate drop. So it looks like interest rates could be on the way down even further. We've had one cut already. Again, this is something else that's going to increase affordability for a certain amount of people looking to buy. So, these kind of things, as I say, we saw this if you're watching the Sydney market a few years ago, as they started to go through their growth cycle. At that time, interest rates were coming down at the same time that they were growing, and that's allowed their cycle to keep going, because even though property prices have increased, the cost of borrowing money was decreasing, and I think that's allowed their market to keep going and going. And I think I heard something the other day saying that their median house price is looking to get up to around 1.7 million or more, get out towards the $2 million mark even. I mean, we're talking crazy numbers. And if you think back to our last growth cycle that finished in around 2006-07, we actually went above the Sydney median house price for a few months there. So it really gives you an insight into potentially where Perth could be going. Most people agree that we're going to cut through the $1 million median house price amount. Of course, at some point this will come to an end, as they always do. People always think the growth cycle will go on forever. They always think that when we're in the doldrums, it'll never recover. And both of those ideations are wrong. But at the end of the day, this has probably got quite a few legs in it because of these other things going on in the background, and because of where the interest rate cycle is at the moment and looking to come further down. So let's take a look at some of the graphs that I like to use on the REWA site, just to give us a little bit more insight into what's happening here in the local Perth market. So what we're looking at here is the REWA Real Estate Institute Western Australia listing and median selling days. So we've got the kind of Manhattan Towers graph through here with these towers here as they come down, and then we've got a bar graph here. So these ones here that I'm showing you are the listings. So as we can see, as of March, as you can see, as of May 2025, we're looking at just under 4,000. Now, as you can see back here, we kind of reached a peak. We went from August last year, just over 3,000, our low of 2,800 just before that. And then we came up slightly, on here, the listings. And then this point here in November, they jumped up. Now, they jumped up at that point because we were coming into summer and a lot of people put their homes on the market during the better weather. So quite often in spring, I would have thought that spike might have been slightly earlier than that. But as you can see, all that, what I would call excess stock, although 5,000 listings for Perth is still incredibly low, because you can expect for a fair market over here to be rounded between buyer and seller to be around about 14,000 listings or thereabouts, and we're at 5,000, so still incredibly low. And of course now they're coming back down again as we start about to heading to late autumn, early winter, and they're reducing more and more again, under just a nip under 4,000 there. So looks like during the winter period it's going to be incredibly low again. The stock isn't really trending back up at all. Like I said, we'll possibly get a few more come back like we did in the spring, because people tend to wait through the winter before listing their homes, but still very, very, very low stock levels for Perth. On this little bar graph here, median selling days. So the median selling days are the time, it really measures, I would say, the demand in the market. So how long it takes for the average place to sell. Okay, so the median time it takes for a property to sell on the Perth market. So as we can see back here in February, April, May sometime, and through these kind of April, May, June, we had just 8 median selling days. Now as it's come to August, we've just gone up here, slightly more again, and you can see it coincides with the listings going up slightly as well, but now they're coming back down again. So the more options you have in the market, the more time people take to make a decision, etc. And you can see that these two things really correlate, as you can see right throughout this entire graph here as well. And just quickly, we can see in the screen here the rental vacancy rate, as I referred to before, as of March 2025 at 2.5%. This time a year ago, it was 0.5%. So it was actually 0.4% at one point. So that's the relief in some way for renters, in terms of this means there's a bit more stock on the market for them to choose from. But as we saw before on the graph just before this, that the demand for it hasn't really changed too much. but there is some relief there, even though, as we just saw again, that rental rates are still climbing. So I'm finding that a lot of the cheaper type properties, the one-bedroom apartments, which I've actually invested in myself because they get very good yields quite often, but these are getting outstanding, some of them getting outstanding yields at the moment, particularly if you've bought off the plan, you've got in a couple of years earlier because you've locked the price, you've stopped the price growth for you because you've locked that price in, but the rental returns have kept growing during that period of time. So when someone settles on that, they're getting very, very strong returns. We do have some developments that are getting small little studios and one-bedders that are getting close to 8% yields. So that's very, very strong. Strongest I think I've seen probably in the 30 years that I've been investing, particularly for brand new property where you can also claim the tax advantages around the fittings and fixtures as well. So there's definitely opportunity out and about there. Obviously the biggest opportunities I keep mentioning is the fact that we're in the growth cycle, but yeah, there are some very good opportunities around in Perth, but you have to have the nose to the ground and understand what's going on, which is why talking to me can help you out because we're doing this all day, every day, and we've got our head in the market constantly. So anecdotally, I'm finding that really good developments are selling, such as the one that we've had in Scarborough that's 4-storey terraced homes. There was 18 in that development. We've got one left and it's still 12 months away from completion. And that's, we're starting from just under $2 million there on those ones and heading up from there. So some of the top end stuff's selling really well, but overall, the strongest part of the market that I deal in has been, for brand new apartments, has been the lower end one bedroom, getting a huge amount of inquiry on anything in those. We don't have any one beds with car bays anymore. We have one beds without car bays, but I think if some developers could do a 50 apartment development with just one beds, they'd probably do them now if they could snap their fingers, because that's part of the market that's incredibly strong and has been for about 18 months. So as is usual, we'll be looking to get, as I've mentioned before, around about 7 years of growth. Now, I have during the growth cycle, now, as I've mentioned before, so we've had actually 3 years of growth, but one of those years was just get us back to the median house price at the peak of the last growth cycle. So we're really talking about where we've moved on from that. So the last 2 years are the ones that have really taken us beyond the last high, which, as I mentioned, was a long time ago now, 14, 15, 16 years ago. But that will continue probably for another 4 years or so. And the other thing that I've just mentioned is the interest rates, the shortage of being able to create new homes, etc. Just keep in mind all these things going on in the background all have an effect, and they're all going to create, and I mentioned the population coming into Perth as well last year, large amounts of people coming here as well. So all of these things are just adding gasoline to the fire. So if you're looking to buy, there's still plenty of time for growth. There's still plenty of time for Perth to reach much higher median house prices. Yes, it will end at some stage, of course it will, but that's not going to be for 4 or 5 years yet. And as I said, you can really, all bets are off if interest rates keep going down and we find that, the cost of borrowing money just gets cheaper and cheaper. Okay, that's about it. I hope you got something out of this video, and I hope you're a little bit clearer as to where you are in the property market here in Perth and what you should be doing going forward. If you need any help, as always, my details are in the description below. All right, take care.